please help me welcome entrepreneur investments, Patricia Cotero and Abbas Amarshi for tonight's program.
But what's happening out there and what are people, what's the market hinting in terms of future growth trends, changes that are happening that we definitely want to make sure that we are aware of them. Focus on customers. Network and leave the office. It is very easy for us to stay inside the office because every day is a busy day. We are wearing many hats, particularly at the beginning, but we do want to make sure that we're sort of forcing ourselves to go out of the office, meet with customers, and understand what is it that they want and how is it that their needs are changing. Network is a great way to do this, and I want to now sort of move on and talk about that. Networking. We all hear about the value of networking when we're sort of building our career, when we are sort of trying to find a job. But definitely for startups, for early stage companies, the power of networking is very important. Why? What do we want to achieve? We definitely want to make sure that we are out there looking for opportunities, potential partnerships, potential investors, definitely media exposure. Like if we have a great story and you sort of know people that are like in the media that can feature you, this is going to work like really well for you, for your marketing campaign, for your marketing strategy. And you can actually probably get it like at no cost compared rather than having to spend a lot of money in advertising. And definitely it has to be like a win-win for you and for the other person. So always make sure that you are giving something and the other individuals, hopefully you're getting something in return. I personally don't do things to get something back. I think that if I'm able to help somebody that I know, connect them with a potential client or somebody that will benefit from the product that they're using or producing, eventually something comes back to me like down the road. So it's not always like all at the same time, but I really think that when you are doing your networking, you have certain goals in your mind that you want to achieve. There's a very large amount of events that we can all tap onto out there. So you definitely want to keep an eye on the ones that you want to attend. Where do you want to network? Industry events are great. There's accelerators, incubators that have networking events that have a lot of, I'll say, action happening in terms of training, or I'm going to actually get into that a little bit further down, but those are the places that you probably want to hang out and understand where are the people that are working there hanging out, because that's what you want to, the people that you probably want to connect to, because they'll have a big understanding on loans, on grants, on next training seminars or free resources or how to scale or investor sessions. So all these like big great amount of events that you definitely want to be part of, particularly at the beginning. Online platforms, there's a lot of stuff happening. I mean, we all are very familiar with LinkedIn, but there's definitely that one and many other platforms. Twitter, I mean, I sometimes connect with somebody that I cannot get like hold of, or it's not in my network. I might be able to find them on Twitter. So there's a lot of online platforms that should allow you to get in touch to somebody in particularly that you want to connect with. And there's also like formal networking associations and networking groups that you can also look into and be part of. How do you do it? What do you do? Come prepared. Always like have your business cards ready. Have a good understanding of who the audience is. If you're going to an event, know who's potentially going to be there. Understand what your their elevator pitch is. And then keep in mind that you want to always ensure you're always want to sound very professional. I mean, there's a very big difference between having drinks with your friends and going to like a networking session where you would definitely want to ensure that you're always conveying the message or the value that you'll be able to add through your business or through your to them or to their organization. Benefits of networking. Great way to promote your business. You can definitely build great relationships. You can find motivation and inspiration, particularly, as I said, it can be quite isolating to be always at the like if you're working from home or if you're working for like a small office. It's a great way for you to sort of take a break and go out and reconnect with individuals and recharge your ideas. You can get a lot of your creative juices going, because I find personally that after like being, I'll say, locked in my office for a very long time, it's sort of eventually like I'm not as productive. So I highly recommend it for that. Potential source of referrals, partnerships, suppliers, or supporters. You never know who you're gonna meet. I've met like great vendors. I've got like great referrals, and a lot of individuals that have been supporting me throughout like the past years. And I really get connect through all of them, or too many of them have been through networking events or associations. Great way for you to expose your business and your product. Like, as I said before, you want to have that elevator pitch always ready, like that you can, as soon as you meet somebody, engage with them on a personal level, but you are there for a reason, and everybody's there for a reason too. So make sure that you really have a short, but concise, but very clear way of expressing what is it that you do and how is it that you can come and help them. Also, this is a great way for you to build your confidence, because you're going to find that at the beginning, it's not always going to flow, like your messaging, the content that you're delivering, and the way you engage with others is, it takes practice. So at the beginning, it's not going to be like you're going to get it 100%. But the more you do about it, like with everything else, you're gonna definitely going to feel more comfortable with it. Something that I do personally, and I sort of tend to break the networking into like business development and industry knowledge. So there's certain events that I there's certain networking events that I particularly pursue with the purposes of expanding my business, my business, and promoting and getting new vendors, so all this stuff that I've just been talking about. But at the same time, there's a lot of industry association events that I actually go so I can expand my knowledge within the industry. So what is happening, say in my particular case, I do marketing and I do business development. So what's actually, if I go to the American Marketing Association for those particular type of events. So there I meet vendors, I understand what's the latest trends in the industry, what are the new technologies, are there any support networks that are being developed within that particular industry? And as I said, I've found great vendors throughout these events. If I'm actually want to develop my business, I'll probably go to like other type of networking events. So there's different categories and different types, and I'll recommend that you explore all of them, and so you can actually see not only which ones work better for you, but also which ones you'll see that they'll have different results and different impact within your business. As I said before, you definitely want to be selective and strategic. There's a lot of events happening out there. You can actually at some point see that you are maybe like spending too much time out of the office in networking events and not as much time working in the business. So as I said, you definitely want to know how to balance those two. So I now wanted to move on to partnerships, and partnerships at early stage startups. They're definitely an important way to develop market strategies, great ways for you to move, find new routes to market. And by partnership, I mean, say, finding ways to associate with larger vendors or larger producers or larger players in the industry that we can hopefully build synergies, and it's a win-win situation for them and for myself. What are the objectives that I want to pursue if I wanted to go after some specific partnerships? Either I want to build integrated solutions or find a way to differentiate myself. And by this I mean, can I achieve market leadership with an integrated solution as quick as possible? So if I I remember when Stripe first came out, and then they did partnerships with certain banks. And if you were a vendor that wanted to offer your customers the flexibility of paying with Stripes, like literally just through your phone, at any, I'll say, pop-up store or Christmas market, or very like spontaneous locations that didn't have like these big payment terminals. I mean, you wanted to have the flexibility of offering the Stripe service, but not all the banks were integrated with Stripe. So eventually you will be sort of trying to like have a bank account with any particular bank. So like it's an integrated solution that's going to offer some certain edge to both individuals, particularly like in this case, the large player into the market. Also, a way for you to build a partnership is if there's a way for you to achieve, to differentiate yourself. So can you achieve and sustain market leadership by differentiating your product or your service? I am going to produce this, and I'm only going to sort of sell it through Amazon because I know that this is like the best option possible for me. So these are ways that we definitely want to explore. But as I'll touch on just in a few minutes, we also want to be very cautious because as very early young players, there's great benefits, but also things to consider. So what are the considerations that we want to keep in mind when we are going to pursue some specific partnerships? So understand what are the joint benefits of a possible agreement. Find the right time and don't rush to them. There is a time and a place for an organization, particularly for startups. Ensure that your potential partner is ready, and don't place all your eggs in one basket. And what do I mean with these? You are small and your resources are very limited. If you're partnering with a large corporation, they have all the resources at their disposal. It is probably not the main priority. The project that we're working on is one of many, and we are exposing ourselves quite a lot by putting all of our resources into, say, one particular potential project. I don't know, as a small startup, you're doing a device that can be embedded into like the internet modem at every house to track usage of some sort, and you're going to partner with Rogers. This is a huge project for you because the market that you're being exposed, your potential market is incredibly large. One single order could really like make you or break you, but at the same time, it might not be Rogers' biggest priority, and I'm just saying like Rogers as an example. So it is important that we understand if they are as vested in this as we are, because our resources are very limited, and for them we might end up spending all this time, all this energy trying to happen, and a company like this can cancel things last minute, and then we're going to be like not in a good spot towards the end because we have lost or traction in other sectors, in other segments of the market. We have not pursued other accounts that probably we could have pursued. So there are implications for us if we are not really if we're just spreading ourselves too thin and putting all of our resources into a particular partnership. Source carefully. Ideally, start with small or equal-sized partners. So again, so you can understand how that works. See if this is something that works for your company, where you are particularly in that particular stage of business development. And also, I think this will be like a learning curve for you before exposing yourself and working with very large organizations. Do not rely on the partner to make your company successful. And this is what I was talking about. Like, large organizations' priorities can change very fast. If there's a change in management, there's a change in the market, they decide to shut down like a particular division. Many things can change. So let's make sure that we are covering all our corners, and we're just not relying on this potential initiative. And the last one is be careful with what you're signing and make sure that you understand your contract. If you're at a stage where you're going to pursue partnership with a large organization, you can afford to get legal advice and get a lawyer to review the terms and understand if this is a contract that you actually want to get into. Yes, you definitely want to make sure that I was talking to somebody very recently and they were very excited about this new deal they got with a large distributor. And then when we started looking into the terms, they were not as favorable as them, and they were highly exposed in terms of risk or orders being canceled. So you want to be sure that this is something that again, that you can pursue in the future. So for early stage partnership, the benefits or your goals that you want to achieve is, can I actually prove that my product is right? I mean, you're starting, you're at a very early stage. Your goal, like a big partner, should be able to help you and make sure that you get certainty that you have a stable product that's going to deliver customer success and satisfaction. So these partnerships are great to seek market validation. Also, they're great for you, for your brand. I mean, to understand that you are being that you're working with a much more reputable company in terms of like the company that has a larger brand image and brand impact is going to be of great value. And you probably want to obviously partner with an organization that is complementing your offering by probably say technology expertise or an enhanced supply chain or improved business processes and project management expertise. So as I said at the beginning, it has to be a win-win situation and ensure that you have that clear from the beginning and that you understand the terms, particularly if you're at a very early stage, because at early stage, obviously your resources are much more limited and the stability of your product is not as certain. But if you can actually achieve that, leverage that partnership to move on to like a next stage, is great. In terms of niche markets or mainstream, so your goal will be to find a partner that can actually help you develop and compete in that particular market with the resources that you have in a very sustainable way. So again, like you want to ensure that your product is stable, that you build, that you can learn to build your own supply chain that allows you to deliver the product to the market that you want to achieve, whether if that being mainstream market. But also if your goal is to access a very niche market, and this partnership can help you do that's definitely the reason, what the driver behind the agreement or the deal that you're going to be doing. So this partner should be able to help you create integrated solutions to access niche markets. And as I say, ensure that there is a solid and competitive value chain so that you are going to, with these deals, you should be able to obtain access to a broader supply chain that you didn't have in the past, or a very specific market that you didn't have before. In terms of challenges, as I said, they are resource intensive and difficult to deal with large organizations, simply because of the limitations that we have, and a large organization won't necessarily have it. Partnerships could be trajectory changing, but it's unlikely to be a trajectory change for the large company, but it can definitely change you. As I said, it can make you or break you as a small company, because they really have the power. So you want to ensure that you can sustain in the medium run and eventually in the long run any change or any of the partnership not really pursuing or moving forward in the right way. And then your partner will be far less motivated than you are to have a successful partnership. So, as I said, because they are larger and they have multiple, many other priorities and objectives. So we want to ensure if this is something that is relevant for the core of their business, we want to pursue and we want to stay excited. But if they are not as motivated as you are, or are engaged as we are, this is probably not going to be like in the best of our interest. And then, are we ready to meet their demands? Can we actually supply and everything that they need with the resources that we have? So we really want to do like a pros and cons as to what are we going to get, what is it that we're giving up, and ensure that we are well positioned after this type of partnerships. So regarding what tools can you use to get more, first of all, to, as you say, as you continue moving forward, to continue learning and innovation, and find market information. So the research databases, journals, and subscriptions that the library have are really good. Abbas is going to show you very recently what they are about. There's also a small business network that takes place throughout the Toronto Public Library system. There are working events. There's a lot of training, not necessarily only here, but downstairs with the Computer Learning Center. If you need to like hone some of your skills, whether it be like in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or there's a very broad selection of other software that you might need to do to work or to get some, say for example, Adobe. I believe Adobe is part of it. So Adobe will really help you to Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, so to get like a lot of, just say, your social media or your branding, and you want to actually tap onto that and get working, because as an entrepreneur, you need to have like all these different skill levels in many areas that we didn't think at the beginning. So I wanted to include these different like all the different tools that the library can offer. There's networking and training, seminars. There's also book clubs. And something that I found really amazing is that downstairs is the Digital Innovation Hub, and a lot of the library branches have that. There is 3D printing and design. There's 3D printers available that you can actually book and use. There's training for them. There's a green room fully equipped with video, audio equipment, like everything you need to actually produce your own videos, download them, and take home the output. You can just, I believe you need just like 3 days to book the cinema, the room downstairs. Now Abbas is gonna do like a small demo on the databases. That's predominantly where we're gonna focus, but there's also journals, there's subscriptions. You can actually get access to lynda.com training with your library card, and there's a very large amount of pretty much every magazine that you can. I don't remember, Abbas, do you remember the name of that other app that we have to download? I'll try to look it up while you're doing the thing. But I was pretty surprised that pretty much every magazine publication that you want, you can actually access it through on your phone with your library card account. So there's a lot of resources that I'm hoping you can, as you move forward, tap on that will help you build the business that you're working on. So I'll leave you with Abbas. Abbas is the librarian at North York Central, and as I said, he's going to show you all the different directories that you can have.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Abbas. I'm a reference librarian. I was here for a year, and last year I left around this time and moved to North York Central. I see some familiar faces. So I wanted to start off my little spiel with a quote. That's from Jim Rohn. He's a famous business writer, and he says, "Never start the day until it's finished on paper." And that quote is a segue to a little anecdote I'm going to share with you, which is that I recently moved into a new home, and my neighbor, whom I got well acquainted with, is a business owner. And so I thought, how do I explain to him, what it is I do, and how do I get to know what he does? And I know he's a business owner. Maybe he can inspire me. And so we talked, and he mentioned that he's a business owner, and I mentioned that I'm a librarian. So he said to me, "Oh, you must read books to kids all day." And I said, "Well, yeah, maybe if that's what you think." But I said, "I also have access to these really cool business resources." And he said, "Oh, interesting. How could it help me?" I said, "Library resources are good for understanding your industry, right, and learning about it, and learning about the different people in the industry, and sort of aggregating reports and things like that. It's more sort of in the planning phase, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's for a new business. It could be useful for an existing business. So he said, okay. And I said, let me ask you a question. How do you find your customers? And so let me tell you a little bit about his business. He's in the soundproofing business. He essentially does drywalling, and he installs soundproof products into these walls. And he says he has no competition. It just soundproofing is his expertise, but he still yet somehow struggles to find customers. And so I said to him, what do you do? He said, well, you know, there's a girl, a family friend of his. She's about 20-some, and he pays her $20 an hour to Google. And he said she spends 8 hours a day, and she'll put together a list of maybe 50 companies. And I decide that I won't start my day until it's finished on paper. That is, that I must have at least 5 customers I will call, and I'll call them. I'll call 5 customers a day, potential customers, and if they're interested in my service, great. I said to him, what if I told you I could get you 500 companies in 2 minutes? He said, tell me more. And I told him, well, use one of our directories here at the library. And he said, interesting. So tell me more about this. And he did. He came into North York Central Library, and we sat down, and we got on one of the directories that's called Mergent Intellect. It's one of 5 directories we have that you could do this with, and it's North American in scope. And so we identified these things, and he was just blown away. Rather than have somebody sit in front of Google, you know, and get sort of unauthoritative information that's not, comprehensive in what he needs. Now he has a system that can produce a lead list for him in seconds, if not, maybe minutes. Rather minutes, if not seconds. So I just quickly jotted down a list of things that you could find in these directories. I don't want to sell it short here, so I made a list on my phone. And so a few of these things are, company names, obviously, addresses, phone numbers, key people. So if you're in a business, sure, you could contact the owner, but perhaps you want to speak to the president or person in charge of procurement. Perhaps you'd like to speak to the director of HR, right? Maybe you run a recruitment company or something like that. Sales figures. So are we talking about big or small companies? Are we talking about companies that sell $5 million or less? Is that what you're specializing in? Are you trying to take those companies to the next level? Let's say, for example, if you, perhaps selling a CRM software or something like that. Or are you looking for bigger companies because you'd like companies with bigger budgets and because you know you have the scale for that? They've got things like market screening. So that's a likeliness to pay. You've got stock information, umbrella companies and subsidiaries. So are you looking for a company and perhaps, maybe looking to sell to their, parent company? And also industry reports, which I'll touch on a little bit later, the square footage of their plant or storefront, number of employees, headquarters and branch locations, litigation information. Has this company been sued, or does this company have any action against another company? Year established, which could be useful for many other reasons. And associations, as Patricia mentioned. This is very important for training, networking, advocacy, mentoring, support networks, which is something she also mentioned. And so that's information you can pull up from these directories. And the list goes on. These things I pointed out are just things that are common among the directories. Every directory has its own speciality, and it's something that you'd have to sit down and investigate, perhaps with some of my esteemed colleagues or myself. Also, I want to touch on industry reports. So industry reports, we have a few different databases that offer this. They could be useful, definitely useful for your business plan, but also good for identifying leaders, competitive analysis, gauging market growth, market trends, a SWOT analysis. Does anybody know what a SWOT analysis is? That's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Yes. And these also vary in scope. So they can vary from sector, to industries in specific. So industry reports can be a little bit misleading. If you look at something like MarketLine, which is one of our industry report databases, it identifies sectors. So for example, the automobile sector in Canada, or perhaps, maybe you're dealing internationally and you can find out about, for example, the wine and bottling sector in Argentina. But we also have industry reports that could be very niche, as niche as, for example, language learning schools, or seasonal textiles, something like that. And they also vary in terms of their qualitative and quantitative measurements. So I'd highly recommend you guys to check those out. Now, maybe quickly as an example, is there anybody who has a company? Very interesting. Okay, so when it comes to something like, for example, a directory, my mind's just blowing up now in terms of what you could possibly do with that. Perhaps you'd want to get in touch with maybe different library systems, maybe theater houses, maybe perhaps different publishers, maybe social media agencies or marketing agencies and things like that. So these are the types of things you could do with the directory. And again, my time is limited here. I can't get in too much depth, and unfortunately I couldn't do a demo just because I'd be selling it short. But I would recommend that you do talk to my esteemed colleagues here at Toronto Reference Library, or if you're on the north side of the city, come out to North York Central, and I'd love to sit down with you, individually, or even perhaps potentially as a group, maybe as part of a program or user education seminar, and expand more about the merits of these databases, because they could really take your businesses or perhaps even just your ideas to the next level. So thank you.
Thank you, Abbas. Another thing that I wanted to mention is books. There's a lot of great books that you can actually access from home. So with your library card, there is a book that that's funny. I've been looking at for a long time, and it's like almost $300. And I never actually was brave enough to buy it. And I was downstairs the other day here waiting for one of the consultation person to come and see me, and I was playing with the databases and the library system, and I decided to punch the name of it. I said, well, maybe they have it here, and while my next meeting arrives, I can take a look. And what happened was super awesome, because it ended up that I can actually read the entire book pops up, and I can actually read it from home. So I'm like chapter by chapter. I didn't even have to come up to the third floor. I was downstairs in the little office that I have down in the main floor, and I didn't even have to come upstairs to try and get it. I was just I just immediately started doing my research from my computer. So there's a really great amount of resources that we sometimes were not aware that they are there, but specifically for market research purposes, I know a lot of you have come to see me and say, where can I find information? Where can I find the clients? And once you really have that profile, that buyer persona that we talked in the past in terms of identifying what's the specific client that you're looking for and understanding where they are, then it should be easier for you to come to the databases or talk to one of your library resources and just try to find break that down in terms of geographic area, in terms of demographics, in terms of countries or industry reports that will allow you that will definitely give you much more detail at a granular level that you can actually pursue and use to pursue your business initiatives. Okay, and lastly, I wanted to talk, so I'm going to now, so we're moving on from library resources. I apologize. Today has been a little bit a bit of a different session because I'm trying to highlight the resources that you can actually use. So as I say, I want to now touch into I'll say the next level that are incubators and accelerators. So if you were to move on, if you're ready, if you have your business plan and you say, I'm ready now to take my business to the next level, Toronto is a great place to be right now in terms of the offering of incubators and accelerators, and in terms of investment capital that's out there. Looking for great projects to invest on. There's I mean, depends how you look for it, but there's between 60 and 150 like incubators and accelerators in the city of Toronto right now. And in Ontario, I mean, we also have the Waterloo corridor that goes like from Toronto to like the University of Waterloo, where there's like a lot of also like incubators and accelerators for the tech industry. But I wanted to first of all point out at the difference between the incubators and the accelerators, and then I wanted to also mention what are some of the options available out there. So predominantly, I mean, they both the main thing is that they both offer support to individuals or companies that are starting their business venture. Primarily, the big difference is how is it that they offer the support. Incubators, as their name says, they want to like bring you in, incubate your idea, and sort of give you a little bit more of a handhold process where they're going to help you as a business to grow and move on to a level or an area where your idea is much more developed. Incubators support startups and entering the beginning stages of building the company. Startups, they have the idea that they want to bring to the marketplace, but they don't necessarily have the business model. So an incubator will help you structure these. Their timeline is a little bit open-ended in terms of like, you'll see why that's relevant, very relevant to the way accelerators operate. And then they tend to be like similar to a co-working space where they're all working together, tapping onto the resources that this particular incubator has. And they usually are mentoring, they're training, and capital for the investment within the company. Accelerators, on the other hand, what they want to do is they usually take a company that's already structured, that's already working, and the goal, what they want to usually do is try to sort of basically accelerate their growth that will potentially happen within, say, 2-year time frame, and do it in a much shorter period of time, usually sometime between 6 months to a year. So accelerators, what they do is they advance the growth of existing companies with an idea and business model that's already in place. The programs run on a set time frame. So, for example, there's a cohort that has an intake date. When I was helping, say, with Creative Destruction Lab, they start in September, and they run all the way till the next summer. So it's like a 9 to 12 month period. And what they're doing is that you're partner with mentors, and you're partnering with individuals that are able to guide you, that have some sort of knowledge or expertise in your field, in the field that your business is working. And they'll try to take you through different stages where we are eventually meeting with potential investors. And as you progress, sort of like your business obviously is like much more like the business case, the business model is much more robust. And hopefully towards the end of the program, you get access to venture capitalists. They have great benefits, particularly usually the main benefit is the caliber of the mentors and the calibers of the VCs that are going to be coming after. So again, as you progress and your project becomes stronger, many startups are dropped throughout the process because they say don't meet the criteria, or simply they're ruled or judged like as with not the potential not being there for future growth. But it is definitely very exciting. Loads of very intense in terms of like the demands, but definitely an experience that if you're able to pursue, I'll highly recommend. As I said, programs run on a set time frame. Usually they're 6 months to 12 months. You must apply to get a spot in the program. Some incubators are highly competitive, and it's very hard to get in. But you get access to mentorships, and then, as I said, you get access to a pool of VCs down the road where you're usually coached on how to do your pitch. You're usually coached on terms of like what is it that you want, the resources that you want to get. And then for many companies, it's been like a big deal breaker in terms of like moving to the next level. I put together a series there. As I said, there's many, but I wanted to sort of give you an idea of what's available in Toronto. I put together a list of a few, also so you can understand how do they differentiate, because there are many, but you like as part of your research is you definitely want to make sure that you find the one that's suitable for your needs and for your type of business. For example, there's Futurepreneur Canada, and this is a mix of incubators and accelerators, particularly because a lot of them offer both services. Some incubate and then accelerate, some just incubate, some are just accelerate. So there is a mix, and I really encourage you to look into them, understand what they have to offer. Also, many offer training programs, coaching programs, but you don't necessarily need to be part of, say, the intake cohort for a particular stream. So there's many benefits and advantages. And as I said before, most importantly, they all have loads of events and networking events that you definitely should take part of and try to join, because they are happening all the time. Futurepreneur, actually, I'm be very happy that one or two programs that I've met here throughout the past consultations I've sort of submit to Futurepreneur. They do not have a specific stream in terms of what's the type of business that they will be able to surprise. They're actually open to any type of business. They're willing to take companies that are a very early stage. So any like you can actually be like just starting, and they're willing to take you in. There is an age limit. I believe they support founders that are up to under 39 years of age. They are present all Canada, and they offer financing through Business Development Canada, plus so up to like $60,000. They do financing, mentoring, training, and they have a whole bunch of startup services. Regardless if you're not doing it, I also recommend that you check out their website, because they have a great list of resources, and they have a portal or a section where you can actually sign up and build your own business plan. They have a great business plan template that you can take advantage of. I've been told by them the information is private. They are not able to see it. So, but I think my understanding is the business plan development, and it's very good and very interactive. If you don't want to use that one, as I said, you can sign up for our list, because we have a business plan template that we're going to be that we have from Business Development Canada that you can keep in your computer and work on that. So that's a great resource if you're starting. There is the DMC from Ryerson University. They have incubator, pre-accelerator, and accelerator. They offer financing, coaching, training, and they have a great community for in terms of the startups that go there. In terms of streams, I couldn't find it. It didn't seem to be very clear for me, so I put it not available. But I'm pretty sure there's like tech media that my perception is that that'll be predominantly their choice, but still look into it. There's the Yeti from York University, financing, coaching, training, and great startup community. There's an incubator. They have a stream for non-for-profits and for youth. I believe they also have one for women entrepreneurs. Something that you want to keep in mind, you don't have to be Ryerson or a York University or a U of T alumni to be part of these. Anybody can join as long as you meet the criteria. So they really act like as an independent institution. So definitely we're looking into. There's the Mars building down at college and university. Definitely the startups, the incubators and accelerators hub for the city for Toronto and pretty much for Ontario. Like that's where a lot of stuff happens. They have training, they have seminars, they have you don't have to be part of the incubator or accelerator to take advantage of what they're doing. They have advisory board. They can help you start. They have help you grow, and they can help you scale. So they have all sorts of levels. They have a great access to investors. Loads of training courses for startups. They offer mentorship. They have a great job board also. That if you want to look into working at startups or publishing yours. They do have streams, so if you want to be part of the actual Mars incubator, you need to be working in something that's related to health, clean tech, fintech, or enterprise solutions. District Venture Kitchens. District Ventures. It is. I really love what they're doing because the city of Toronto used to have some kitchens and some venture programs, and one of the Dragons Den lady, like forget the lady. Anyway, she decided, like the city when they cut the budgets, they sort of gave that up, and she's sort of taking it up and made it like a incubator and accelerator, and they actually specialize in food, in beverage, in health and wellness, which is great because especially food and beverage is an area where many people get into, but the businesses tend to have a very short lifespan. So they're now offering training for individuals on how to grow and scale these type of businesses. But most importantly, they have facilities that you can actually access for packaging and kitchens. So if you are a chef, you need to rent a kitchen by the hour. You can actually go there and use the space, and say if you need to have, like, say, produce small batches, do packaging, so you can actually access their facilities. So very different business models, but as I said, Toronto is a great place because it offers a lot of different streams. There's the Toronto Fashion Incubator that obviously specializes in fashion, one of the oldest business incubators in the world. Model for fashion incubators worldwide, so Paris, Milan, and all the biggest runway in the world. And then there's the RIC, there's the Research Innovation Commercialization Center that's out in Mississauga. They have emphasis in hardware and software. So if you have something that has to do with Internet of Things, wearable, any like digital platforms, that's definitely something you want to check out. They specialize in advanced manufacturing, IoT, ICT, life sciences, and clean tech. And as I said, they have incubator and startup services, and they also have services for mature startups. So like there's really, the size is not an issue as long as you are sort of part of the streams. And these streams, what happens is that usually for them to offer, the reason why they pick up certain streams is that for them to offer you proper advice for a particular industry or a particular type of company, you want to have the experts, the people that have the experience within that industry. So that's pretty much where the need for the idea of specializing in certain streams come forth. Also in terms of financing, like, if you're going to get a government grant through them, or usually the government projects, the way the government funnels the grants money is through like these incubators or accelerators, and obviously the government always is trying to support certain segments of the certain industries, call it innovation, or like, clean tech. So that's why like a lot of the times they have a stream, and it's really like in the best interest of the user that the stream is there. And the last one I have is the Creative Destruction Lab. It started and is hosted at the University of Toronto Rotman School of Business, but it actually now has a presence in 5 cities across Canada, plus in Oxford in the UK. They specialize in emerging technologies, so AI, they have an AI stream, blockchain, they have a city stream, they have energy, health, oceans, quantum space, and then there's a general stream that they usually have to are related with emerging technologies. They're predominantly an accelerator in terms of the intake streams that they have. They have a wealth of advisors, and they also, through their acceleration program, they bring investors from all over the world. There's also I found this, and this is just an example, as I say, of some image that I found online on U of T Engines of Innovation, just to give us an idea of what else is out there. I mean, say Creative Destruction Lab is one unit, one of that U of T has. So say they have the iCube in Mississauga, in the Mississauga campus. They have the hub in Scarborough, and then a lot of faculties here within the downtown center. They have all sorts of the Impact Center, the Department of Computer Science Innovation Lab. So, and then if you're affiliated with one of them, this usually gives you access to a lot of other resources within the university. But as I said before, you don't need to be, like, say, a student, to a particular institution in order to be able to access. I mean, usually, obviously, every program has their own rules, but I think it is important for you guys to know that there's a wealth of resources available out there. And it really, we're spoiled by choice in Toronto. It is competitive, but at the same time, the options are there and they exist, which is really a blessing. Oops. And then if you wanted to get like further training within the entrepreneurship realm, the City of Toronto has Enterprise Toronto, which offers like coaching, mentoring, and training and seminars. There's continuing education courses at most universities and colleges in entrepreneurship. I know U of T has, Ryerson has, Seneca has, Wilfrid Laurier has. And then there's something called the Toronto Business Development Center that offers a whole bunch of training. They're also part of an incubator, and they also like sometimes offer government grants and resources. So definitely, as I said at the beginning, my big goal is to make sure that from now on, since we're pretty much wrapping up the program today, that you have other resources to go to, and and to ensure that you can keep the momentum that hopefully we started here going. So big important aspects to take away before I wrap it up. Disruption tends to haunt companies that ignore certain market signals. Industries are not disrupted overnight. Disruption happens slowly but surely with time, particularly in segments of the market that, let's say, large players have ignored. So routine and exhaustion kill creativity. And if you have no creativity, you have no innovation within your organization. So make sure that you find a way to balance these. Work in the business and on the business, like it is hard, because once you are sort of you launch and you have your project going, there's many things happening, particularly in the day-to-day that you wanna make sure that you get right. So that's probably sometimes gonna take you out from being able to come up with new ways to do these things, to come up with new products or new markets that you want to pursue. Don't be afraid to evolve. Like, you started this business, you got to where you are by taking a risk, by picking up the idea that you thought was the best path forward, and it works. So make sure that you continue doing that as you move forward. Know your customers and listen to them, and this is like an ongoing process. Your customers can change your product, so understand what is it that the needs that they have as time goes by, and then embrace the technologies as they come along. But most importantly, have fun. Like, really, you got into it because you wanted. This is really, I'm hoping that this is going to be like your dream come true. So make sure that you enjoy the process. Take one day at a time, and make sure that you avoid like the disruption challenges. Finally, I wanted to remind you, if you want to sign up to get the handouts or any other like material, please fill the sheets that are over there. Where you like, the goal right now is we have the BDC handouts. I believe last week I wanted to touch on the monetizing topic, but I didn't. I have a good article that I also want to enclose with, and then anything else that you might want, let us know. Thank you so much for all your attention throughout these past few weeks. If you have any questions, I'll take them now. And if you want to stay in touch, that's my website where you can email me, find me on Twitter, find me on LinkedIn, or drop me a note anytime. Thank you so much, and I'll take questions.